Hi, this is Jen Rubin, editor-in-chief of The Contrarian. I am so thrilled to have with us a woman who really doesn't need any introduction, Jean Carroll, who, of course, took Donald Trump to court twice and won big. She is out with a fabulous new book detailing the trial and her tribulations and her victory. Welcome, Jean. It's so great to see you.
Thank you, Jen. I just want to bow down to the woman who wrote Resistance. How
Oh,
the women
thank you.
saved
Thank you.
democracy from Donald Trump. And if we could have only have held that,
Yes,
Jen, if we could
exactly.
only have, I mean, I it kills me to remember your book. It kills me because it was so valiant and
Ugh.
the struggle, and everybody stood up and did something, got off our lazy asses and actually did something.
Well, we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about that. But first, I have to ask you about the book. Your rendition of Trump's lawyers was hysterical, but also relatively tragic, since two of them are now in high office, Todd Blanche and Alina Habba. Um, how did you find Alina Habba, who, of course, was a parking lot attorney before this job? What was your assessment of her?
Jen, I hate to tell you, extremely intelligent,
Really?
extremely bright, can read a room faster than anything. My attorneys, Robbie Kaplan, said, do not trust her. Do not trust Alina Habba, Esquire. And I met her and this big, so she's very beautiful, always exquisitely dressed, enormously arrogant, and 100% confident. Didn't know the first thing about law, not the first thing, couldn't do it. But she did what Donald Trump told her to do. And I watched him, or I listened to him. I was sitting right in front of him. I could hear almost everything he was saying to her. He belittled her. He grumbled. He hissed. He actually hissed, spit, moaned, groaned at her. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. And of course, she would not know why she was standing up, Jen. She wouldn't understand why she was standing up. But she, you know what? If somebody was yelling at me to stand up, I would have been so rattled. I wouldn't have, but she would stand up and then she would defend the man. She would defend the man as brilliantly as she could. So that's Alina Habba Esquire. Her
Yes.
diamond that she wears on her finger, as big as a Ritz cracker. Just, just
Exactly.
she's exquisite.
Now, Trump sat through, moaned, complained, slept through part of the trial. What did you make of all those antics? Was he really sleeping? Was he feigning sleeping? What was that whole thing about?
Um, it was not what I thought what he was doing, but the jury was absolutely petrified with delight. They watched every single snort, whine, growl. They watched him like a hawk. No, and so, in other words, anything that Alina Habba said to defend him went right out the window because they're watching the guy
Yes.
himself, who is, of course, Jen, you have met him several times. He is slathered like Elizabeth I in this heavy saffron colored makeup, right? And his hair every day is a different style. One day it's Barbara Stanwyck in Ball of Fire. Another day it's what's her name and the Birds. He is at Marilyn Monroe on Some Like It Hot. Every day, everything. Always he looks like one day he looked like an elderly gigolo, another day, just like a fat guy. Um, so he had his many moods and his many traumas and his many, presentations. And the jury, it was better than any Academy Award performance you have ever seen. He is a fascinating, fascinating man to watch.
He certainly is horrifying as well. So I also have to ask about your presentation. you look gorgeous, of course, every day in trial. And you had a specific look in mind. What was your strategic choice in how you dressed, how you presented yourself?
Well, a lot of people don't know that before big trials, before the OJ trial, for instance, they held something called mock trial. That's
Yes.
jury exercises. So my great attorneys, Sean G. Crowley, Mike Ferrara, Robbie Kaplan, held a full day of one full trial, presented our entire case to 27 typical New Yorkers. Okay. And then they just divided them into three juries. All 27 of them agreed on one thing when they heard these beautiful arguments. Number one, it's quite possible that two people could end up in 1996 in a Bergdorf dressing room. Yes, they also agreed that it's really quite possible that something sexual could happen in a Bergdorf dressing room in 1996. And third, they all agreed Donald Trump was one of the people and that I was the other. The thing they disagreed on, Jen, was that I was begging him for it
Mm.
because he was Donald Trump. And I was a desiccated old crone sitting there in the. So what we did, we pulled a trick. We took my old scraggly, 81-year-old locks. We went to the hairdresser, to the very woman who did my hair and makeup in 1996 for my television show called Ask Eugene. We did the exact hair, the exact makeup, and I even wore the clothes that I wore in 1996. The exact wardrobe, what I'm wearing on the cover of the book, the brown jacket, that's from Bergdorf's 1993, and I won it, So that's what we did. So the jury could see there was an echo, somebody who could have looked like I looked in 1996. They could make the
Fascinating.
connection. And so that, therefore, I hate to say it, I was believed. Before,
Yeah.
I was too ugly to be believed. So
It that's horrifying, as I'm sure you're aware. Feel now that we are getting all of these recycled abusers. Andrew Cuomo is back. Harvey Weinstein gets off, on some charges. Donald Trump has been elected twice as president. Is this demoralizing, discouraging to you? How do you even explain that these people have a zillion lives and really never pay for what they've done, except to you?
and I gotta say, the contrarian, you are out there every single day combating every single move. I mean, from 8 o'clock in the morning until God knows how long at night, you are out there battling it every hour. I mean, every hour, the contrarian is really stepping up. And
Thank you.
see, this is the thing. Donald Trump has great moral influence on this country, not only on this country, but around the world. His moral influence has changed the way we see what's good and bad. It is now quite permissible to lie on our tax returns. It is quite permissible to attack women and then be rewarded with a cabinet position. It's quite, he's changed everything. And this is what we had to follow in your footsteps. We cannot sit on our lazy asses and let him continue this. So I'm real pleased with the contrarian. I'm real pleased with the battle you're waging. And I'm real pleased that I beat him. And if I can beat him, an old lady of 81 can beat him. Anybody can beat Donald Trump, right?
Well, certainly in the court of law, we'll see what we can do about it out in the court of public opinion. I do have to ask you though, you haven't yet gotten the money. It's in some escrow account, I assume, at this point. You've said you want to do something with the money that will make him mad. Do you have a list of things that you're looking forward to spending the money on?
Yeah.
What are the things that would make him the most furious?
Well, you know how mad, because what is he loves money more than anything, right? It's all,
Yes.
and his ego is tied up. So what will just piss him off given 83 million of his dollars to everything he hates. And Jen, it is changing every day. You know, 2 weeks ago, I was going to give it all to women so we could get our rights back. Because, boy, women's rights, they're just being taken away. Half the states. I mean, half the states. I mean, that's what, yeah. But then I turn around, they're dragging immigrants out of their houses, the mothers, and screaming for their children, and separating the dads and the hardworking. And I think, oh, I better give the money to that. So we have a foundation all set up at Loeb and Loeb. I'm speaking with smart people like you every single day because we need that we have to be strategic. And we will try to piss him off by getting into things that will reverse all these horrible things where he rips apart democracy at the seams. So there's that. We have that to look
Yes,
forward
exactly. Well, I can't wait to see what you spend it on. I have to go back to another chapter in your life. You were a journalist, later a vice columnist in New York during what I think of as like the golden age of magazines.
the golden.
And,
Yeah.
people lived lavishly after you put an addition to bed, you were driven home in taxis, expense accounts were sky high. It was the life. Do you miss that? Do you have nostalgia for that part of your life?
Oh, don't you?
Yes,
I do. I
yes.
mean, I see it was a ticket. It was a ticket to go everywhere, get on that plane, snap that seatbelt, fly off to someplace you've never been, to write a story about somebody you've never met before, come back, your editors, you'd have a drink, you'd have martinis in the office, then you go out to dinner, and they would pick up the tab, and we'd be with our friends. We'd be running down the boulevards at 2:30 a.m. in New York, and we loved one another and we supported one another. And, it was at Elaine's, and you go and you say, Elaine, they turned down my piece. You say, fuck it. Somebody else will take it. It was, geez, I mean, Graydon Carter's book caught a lot of that.
Yes.
And it is, those are the golden days. But now everybody's a journalist.
Yeah, well, some are real journalists and some are, less
Yeah.
than real. So
Yeah.
you live in the wilderness, euphemistically speaking. I always think of you as such an urban person, but of course, you grew up in a very rural part of the country. Are
Yeah.
you comfortable in rural areas? Do you want to go back to the city at some point?
No, I like a small, comfortable life. I know what my
Yeah,
pleasures are. It's hiking, it's having dinner with friends. But those pleasures that are now I'm having are quiet, lovely, sensible trip. You and I were just talking about the pleasures of the 80s, which is completely different and wild and wonderful. So, I mean, I'm enjoying both. The life that you asked me if I miss, it doesn't exist anymore in New York.
that's true. That's true. Um, so women politics. I've sadly come to the conclusion, I may not see a woman president in my lifetime. What do you think the country will have to go through before that's a reality? I mean, we've had two completely different women, and the country didn't like either one of them. Black, white, older, younger, what is it going to take?
Well, you wrote the book, Resistance: How Women Saved Democracy from Donald Trump. You wrote the book. What is it going to take? It's going to take exactly what those women did in 2020. That's exactly what it's going to take. What it's going to take is, here's what we have to do. We have to stand up and get off our lazy asses. Because,
Right.
Jen, women, women control 57% of the disposable income in this country. We
Absolutely.
are his boss. If we ever got together, if we ever sit up and walked outside and talked to our neighbors, we have the power to pull those purse strings and cut him off.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
that's what we do. We cut off the money. We have the
Absolutely.
money. What?
And we vote in larger numbers than men. We just have to vote together for people who will reverse the damage.
Okay, now I think you behind the contrarian and me mouthing off, I think we can get it. We've got to get moving though, Jen. I mean, you're
Yes.
moving as fast as anybody right now. I don't know when
Well,
you sleep. I do not know when Jen Rubin sleeps. Don't know when.
I'll sleep when there's a Democrat in the White House, when there's a Democratic control of the House and the Senate. Who could sleep during this period
I don't
of
know.
time?
I have no, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so that's all we have to do. It's very simple. We just stand up and walk outside and pull the purse string, get together. It's not difficult.
Exactly.
You already wrote the book.
Yeah, well, I have to write, I guess, a sequel, which is Save Democracy Again. But
That's
we
not a
are,
bad idea. That's not a bad
yeah, well, there you go. I'll do that in my spare time. How's that? Um,
idea. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise
well, there
me.
you
So,
go. So I also have to ask about your life as an advice columnist. Do you
yeah,
miss that? Did you have fun with that, or did it get old after a while? What's your feeling about that part of your career?
it's interesting. Oh, I loved it. When they said, would you, because I grew up when my father would come home at 6 o'clock every night. My mother would be waiting for him with the cocktail. They'd sit down, read the paper, and I would be reading Dear Abby on the living
Yes,
room floor, right?
yes,
Just
absolutely.
that. So I always had great admiration because she was helping so many people. She was so funny and she did such good. I loved it. So when Elle magazine said, "Would you like to be an advice column?" It was my lifelong dream, and I loved it. And I loved it because it's fairly simple. You read the question, you find out what the correspondent wants to do, and then you tell them to do it or you tell them not to do it. I loved it. And then, and then I accused, the president of the United States of sexual assault, and Elle fired me. And so then, the leading women's magazine, the world's largest fashion magazine in the world, fired their advice columnists for speaking out against a powerful man.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, I have to recommend a book to you, which I just finished, which is called The Empresses of Seventh Avenue. And it's the
Ooh.
story of the 20s and 30s, how women in the fashion industry,
Yep,
in magazines, in
yep,
design,
yep.
seized this industry, grew it, made their break from France, which
Yes.
obviously during the war was occupied, and built what is now the New York fashion industry. And what it shows is exactly what you were just saying, that if women empower themselves and go out there, they achieve, the most amazing, amazing things. It's phenomenal.
I
Um,
Lisa
it,
Birnbach also told me to read that book.
yes,
So
yes,
this book must be something.
it is. It absolutely is. So you have the perspective of someone who has had many careers in your life. And I've had several careers and several incarnations
You've
as
worked for
well.
everybody. You work for every
And there you go. And I worked as a lawyer for 2 decades too. So, what advice, put on your advice hat, what advice would you give to women who feel like they're stuck or they're not doing what they want to? What would you tell them about taking a leap of faith, doing something new, changing careers at whatever age they want to do it?
Oh, well, I think the secret is just finding a moment in the day, just a one moment when you feel a little bit of joy, grab that motherfucker. Grab that motherfucker. That will start to pep you up. As soon as you can raise your spirits, you can look around you. And then you can see what you might absolutely think might work out. Every day, grab some happiness, grab some happiness. That gives you energy to go on. Like I'm sitting on a ball and go get yourself an exercise ball and sit on it because I am having fun. Of course, I'm talking to
Yeah,
a
oh
group,
my God, are you
but
ever?
but that's just one of the tiny secrets. Do something that makes you feel good. And
That's
then you
fabulous.
just feel better. And then you can start to move to wherever direction you want. But Jen and I want you to start to help us save democracy.
Oh, there we go. It's going to take all of us. It takes a village.
Yeah, I know. It's
If
taking
I
you 12 hours a day. God bless
Well,
you for
it's
that.
the least I can do, you know? And you know, when you're doing this, you feel better because you don't have time to dwell on how dark, how frightful, how twisted this country has become under Donald Trump. So
Can
there's
I
nothing
ask you
like
a
work.
question, Jen? A creative
Yeah.
question. Now, when you were back in your Washington Post writing your really well thought out, extremely brilliant opinion pieces, you had all the time, you had 3, 4 days to write each one of those. Now you've got 3 or 4 minutes to start turning out, and you are keeping up with it. I mean, it is a huge accomplishment.
Well, thank you. I actually wrote a lot at the Post as well. What's different is now helping to run the contrarian, and that's the big revelation, and helping to lift something off, helping to keep it going, attracting talent, nurturing our own people so that they can do more than they necessarily thought they could do. And that's the great joy is having something that you have helped create and you have to sustain and keep running and
Yeah.
keep running. And that's been the greatest joy. I've never worked this hard in my life and I've
No.
never had this much fun. It is just spectacular.
And people want to work for you. People want to work for you. I know that.
Well, well, it is fun. And the people we have are just
I
magnificent.
know. You got everything.
You know, I could go on all day, Eugene, but I will let you get back to your bouncing ball and your beautiful surroundings. And I promise we will get back together again and
Oh,
chat
let's
because
do.
I feel like I'm sitting in your living room and
I
we're
wish you
just
were
having a
here.
chat. So take care. Congratulations again on the book. What
Thank
a
you.
fabulous achievement.
Thank,
And keep giving him hell because that's what we love.
thank you, Jen. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.